Join us on an extraordinary journey through time as we unveil the untold story of 40 acres and a mule, and the haunting legacy of broken promises. From the courageous sex slaves of the Port Royal experiment to the devastating Tulsa Race Massacre, we expose the enduring struggles faced by African Americans in America. Brace yourself for a powerful exploration of injustice, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of equality. Together, let's confront the dark shadows of the past, ignite the flames of change, and forge a brighter and more equitable future. On February 18, 2013, a historic moment occurred when Mississippi ratified the 13th Amendment, officially overturning slavery. However, this momentous occasion highlighted the glaring disconnection between the law and the actual social practices that persisted for far too long. Today, we embark on a profound exploration of the forgotten history behind 40 acres and a mule, the broken promises, and the enduring struggles faced by African Americans in America. Before we embark, I want to express my deepest appreciation for your support. Please remember to like, subscribe, and comment below. Your engagement fuels our mission. During the Civil War, Union forces established an enclave in Beaufort and Port Royal, South Carolina. As the white masters fled, they left their slaves behind. This extraordinary turn of events led to the emergence of what is now known as the Port Royal experiment. It was a period filled with hope and uncertainty as sex slaves began working the land under the supervision of the U.S. Treasury officials and Northern reformers. This groundbreaking experiment showcased the potential for economic autonomy and self-sufficiency among African Americans. But this promise was short-lived. The once enslaved individuals courageously stepped into a new chapter of their lives, cultivating the land, and then having it forcefully taken from them. During the Port Royal experiment, confiscated land was auctioned off, giving freedmen a rare chance to own their own plots. But most of the land ended up in the hands of white businessmen who aimed to exploit black labor. Yet, armed black freemen emerged fiercely, defending their autonomy on the Sea Islands.
You ask us to forgive the landowners of our island. You only lost your right arm in war, and might forgive them. The man who tied me to a tree and gave me 39 lashes, and who stripped and flogged my mother and my sister, and who will not let me stay in his empty hut, except I will do his planting and be satisfied with his price, and who combines with others to keep away the land from me, well knowing I would not have anything to do with him if I had land of my own. That man I cannot well forgive.
The promise of 40 acres and a mule represented more than just land ownership for the newly freed African Americans. It symbolized hope, dignity, and the opportunity to build a better future. Sadly, this promise was gradually revoked, extinguishing the flickering flames of hope that had been ignited. Bureau officials, aiming to restore white authority, sought to force freedmen into signing labor contracts with white landowners. These contracts, often imposed under unequal terms and immense pressure, undermined the true essence of economic freedom. Freedmen found themselves bound to their former oppressors, navigating a treacherous landscape where promises were broken, dreams were shattered, and the path to prosperity was obscured. In June 1865, Charles Sowell, the Commissioner of Contracts for the Freedmen's Bureau, told freedmen in Orangeburg, South Carolina, what to expect and how to behave in the coming year.
Remember that all your working time belongs to the man who hires you. Therefore, you must not leave work without his permission, not even to nurse a child, or to go and visit a sick wife or husband. When you wish to go off the plantation, get her pass as you used to, and then you will run no danger of being taken up by our soldiers. In short, do just about as the good men among you have always done.
Well, that doesn't sound like freedom to me. In my opinion, slavery didn't end until Dr. King pushed President Lyndon Johnson to sign the Civil Rights Act into law in 1964, and the end of Jim Crow. With the loss of the 40 acres and a mule dream, African American families confronted the rise of sharecropping. They worked the land independently, but wages remained elusive, leading to dependency on white landowners. In this system, black families received a portion of the crop, but exploitative practices and inequality persisted, perpetuating economic hardship. Let us journey back to a pivotal meeting in Savannah, Georgia, where the fate of thousands of newly freed African Americans hung in the balance. Major General Sherman, Secretary Stanton, and 20 black ministers gathered, driven by urgent questions about protection and economic survival. In response to the pressing concerns raised during the meeting, Special Field Order 15 was issued, a momentous promise of 40 acres and a mule for black families. This promise ignited a spark of hope, representing an opportunity for economic self-sufficiency and a fresh start in a society still grappling with the aftermath of slavery. The broken promise of 40 acres and a mule devastated African American hopes. After Lincoln's assassination and Johnson's restoration program, the land was returned to former Confederate owners, perpetuating inequality. Dispossession crushed the dreams of economic autonomy and self-determination for most black landholders. This broken promise remains a painful reminder of unfinished justice and the need for reparations. Join the conversation. Like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice matters, and I look forward to hearing from you. The broken promises of 40 acres and a mule, and the enduring legacy of slavery and sharecropping, continue to cast a long shadow over the struggles faced by African Americans today. The impact of these broken promises reverberates through generations, leaving a profound mark on the pursuit of racial justice and equality. Yet, the fight for reparations and racial justice persists. Initiatives like H.R. 40 have been introduced in Congress, amplifying the voices of those seeking to address historical injustices and pave the way for a more equitable society. By acknowledging and addressing the pain of the past, we can forge a path toward healing and create a brighter future for all. Reparations face opposition from Republicans and Democrats, questioning the need for addressing historical injustices. Confronting this resistance demands collective action against systemic inequalities and broken promises that endure for centuries. Jim Crow laws, built on black codes, labor camps, and biased legal systems, enforced racial segregation, denying African Americans their rights and relegating them to second-class citizenship. The emergence of Jim Crow laws after the 13th Amendment reveals the deep-rooted resistance to true equality, with racially biased judges and juries perpetuating discrimination, while violence and lynchings instilled constant fear in African Americans fighting for their basic human rights. Despite the overwhelming challenges posed by Jim Crow laws, African American leaders emerged as beacons of hope and catalysts for change. Figures like Ida B. Wells fought tirelessly against the injustice and violence inflicted upon African Americans. Ida B. Wells, a renowned journalist and activist, fearlessly exposed the horrors of lynching through her investigative reporting. Her work shed light on the heinous crimes committed against African Americans and galvanized support for the fight against racial discrimination. Wells' activism serves as a testament to the power of resistance and the tireless pursuit of justice. Many other African American leaders and activists also rose to the occasion, challenging the Jim Crow laws and advocating for civil rights. Their collective efforts paved the way for future generations to continue the fight for equality and to dismantle the systemic racism deeply ingrained in American society. Reparations for the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre have been dealt a heavy blow, as an Oklahoma judge recently rejected a lawsuit seeking redress for the victims of this devastating racist rampage. Judge Caroline Wall, in a decision delivered in July 2023, dismissed the lawsuit with prejudice. This legal action aimed to compel the city and other entities to provide compensation for the destruction inflicted upon the once thriving Black community of Greenwood. The case was brought forward by 3 survivors of the attack, all of whom have surpassed the remarkable age of 100. They filed the lawsuit in 2020, hoping to witness what their attorney aptly described as justice in their lifetime. The battle continues as the massacre survivors plan to appeal. The legacy of slavery and sharecropping and the oppressive era of Jim Crow laws continue to shape the struggles faced by African Americans. It is imperative that we acknowledge this painful history and work towards rectifying the deep-seated injustices that persist to this day. By supporting initiatives for reparations and racial justice, we can create a more equitable society that recognizes and addresses the historical and ongoing harms inflicted upon African Americans. Together, we must stand united in the pursuit of equality, justice, and the fulfillment of the promises that have been denied for far too long. Thank you for joining us on this profound journey through history. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel to stay informed and engaged. Together, we can continue unraveling the legacy of broken promises and strive for a future where justice prevails.